History of Volleyball. I am Nian Mamiit and I am about to discuss who invented volleyball. William G. Morgan, an instructor and physical director at the Young Men's Christian Association or YMCA, invented volleyball. He was born on 1870 in the state of New York, and he originally gave the name Mintonet to what is known as volleyball today. Now, here is Miss Juliana Oganya to tackle when was it invented.
Thank you, Miss Mamiit. So, he invented volleyball in 1895 in Holyoke, Massachusetts. The Greater Holyoke YMCA or Young Men's Christian Association continues to run adult volleyball leagues. He decided to blend elements of basketball, baseball, tennis, and handball to create a game for his classes of businessmen which would demand less physical contact than basketball.
Volleyball defined by Morgan. The game was fit for the gymnasium or exercise hall but could also be played outdoor. The play consisted of any number of players keeping all ball in motion from one side to the another, over a net raised 6 feet and 6 inches above the floor. Play is started by a player on one side serving the ball over the net into the opponent's field or court. The opponents then, without letting the ball strike the floor, return it, and it is in this way kept going back and forth until one side fails to return the ball or the ball hits the floor. The side serving the ball earns points when the opposite side either fails to return the ball or allows the ball to hit the floor.
These are the rules of the game that was established by Morgan. First, the game. The game shall consist of 9 innings. Second, inning. An inning shall consist of when one person is playing on each side, 1 service each side. When 2 are playing on each side, 2 services each side. When 3 are playing each side, 3 services each side. The man serving continues to do so until out by failure of his side to return the ball. Each man shall serve in turn. Third, court. The court or floor space shall be 25 feet wide and 50 feet long, divided into 2 square courts, 25 feet by 25 feet, by the net. 4 feet from the net on either side and parallel with it shall be a line across the court, the dribbling line. The boundary lines must be plainly marked so as to be visible from all parts of the court. Note, the exact size of the court may be changed to suit the convenience of the place. Fourth, net. The net shall be at least 2 feet wide and 27 feet long and shall be suspended from upright place and at least 1 foot outside the sidelines. The top of the net must be 6 feet 6 inches from the floor. Fifth, ball. The ball shall be rubber bladder covered with leather or canvas. It shall measure not less than 25 inches nor more than 27 inches in circumference and shall weigh not less than 9 ounces, nor more than 12 ounces.
The sixth rule of the game established by Morgan is server and service. The server shall stand with 1 foot on the back line. The ball must be batted with the hand. 2 services or trials are allowed him to place the ball in the opponent's court. The server may serve into the opponent's court at nay place. In a service, the ball must be batted at least 10 feet. No dribbling allowed. A service which would strike the net but which is struck by another of the same side before striking the net, if it goes over into the opponent's court, is good, but if it should go outside, the server has no second trial. The seventh rule is scoring. Each good service unreturned or ball in play unreturned by the side receiving counts 1 score for the side serving. A side only scores when serving as a failure to return, counting for the opposite side. The ball hitting the net on the first service shall be called dead and counts as a trial. The eighth rule is net ball. A play which hits the net aside from the first service is called a net ball and is equivalent to a failure to return, counting for the opposite side. The ball hitting the net on first service shall be called dead, counts as a trial. The ninth rule is line ball. A line ball is a ball that strikes the boundary line. It is equivalent to one out of court and counts as such. Last but not the least rule is the 10th rule, which is play and players. Any number of players may participate that is convenient to the place. A player should be able to cover about 10 by 10 feet. Should any player during play touch the net, it pulls the ball out of play and counts against his side. Should any player catch or hold for an instant the ball, it is out of play and counts for the opposite side. Should the ball strike any object other than the floor and bound back into play, it is still in play.
In 1900s, net height was raised to 7 feet 6 inches. Dribbling line was eliminated, length of the game was changed to 21 points. In 1912, number 1 court size became 35 by 60 feet. Number 2, official ball was designated as 26 inches in circumference and was to weigh between 7 and 9 ounces. Number 3. Number of players on the side was established at 6. Number 4. Teams required to rotate prior to serving.
In the year 1915, number of players on a side could range from 1 to 6. Losing teams served in each subsequent game. Official timer was included. Between 1897 and 1915, the rules were published in the Handbook of the Athletic League of the YMCA. In 1916, the American Sports published the rules through publishing company in a separate book called Official Volleyball Rules. Then, in 1916, game points were reduced from 21 to 15 points. 2 out of 3 games determined the winner of a match. The ball could struck with the feet. The net height was raised to 8 feet. The weight of the ball was changed to range from 8 to 10 ounces. Each man rotated in order and served in turn. A serve that hit in the net or any outside object was out of bounds. The ball could not come to rest in the hands. The ball could not be touched a second time unless another player had played it.
In 1920, the ball could be played by any part of the body above the waist. The court size was changed by 30 feet by 60 feet. The ball could only be played 3 times by each team, on each side of the court. While in 1922, reaching over the net in any manner was prohibited. A back position player was prohibited from spiking when playing a back position. The double foul was written in the rules. The center line was added as well as a scorer. It was necessary for one team to score 2 consecutive points. To win in the score was tied at all 14.
In 1923, ceiling height minimum was to be 15 feet. 6 players constituted a team and 12 squad players were numbered. The team receiving the serve rotated clockwise. The right back player served. If a player touched the opponent's court in completing a play, it constituted a foul.
Year 1924, the net specifications were written in detail: 3 feet wide, 4-inch square mesh of number of 30 brown thread, canvas cover, top and bottom with 1/4 inch cable at top and 1/4 inch rope at the bottom. Also, the Olympic Games program in Paris includes a demonstration of American sports with volleyball among them. And year 1925, the ball weight was changed to range from 9 to 10 ounces. An umpire was added. A player could not leave the court without the referee's permission. The ball had to cross the net over the sidelines. A team was permitted 2 times out per game. A 14-score tie game was won by a team having a 2-point advantage instead of 2 consecutive points. Therefore, 2 times out per game for each team becomes the rule. There is also a change in the scoring rules for the most hotly contested sets. A 14 score to win, it is no longer necessary to score 2 consecutive points, but rather to have a 2 points advantage. Once again, the ball weight is modified from 9 to 10 ounces. Volleyball is played for the first time in the Netherlands after a stay at the Seminary of Teaching in Illinois. U.S. Father S. Buse introduced the sports to the St. Wilbrord Mission House in Uden and has a few courts set up there.
Volleyball was still a relatively new sport in 1926, having been invented just 20 years earlier in 1906 by William G. Morgan. However, it had already gained popularity in United States and was spreading to other countries. In 1926, the first national championship tournament for men was held in the United States, organized by the YMCA. The tournament was won by a team from New York City. In the same year, the first international volleyball match was played between the United States and Japan. The match was held in Tokyo and was won by the United States. Volleyball was also starting to gain popularity in other countries. In the Soviet Union, the first official volleyball rules was established in 1926. And the first national championship tournament was held in 1927. In Czechoslovakia, the first national championship tournament was held in 1926. Overall, 1926 was an important year in the history of volleyball, as the sport continued to grow and develop both in the United States and internationally.
In 1928, 4 different sets of rules were published. The official rules, simplified rules, modified rules for the playground, and the rules for girls and women. Although the last 3 sets of rules were changed many times and had interest and support from various groups, the official rules are the only ones covered. No changes occurred from 1927 to 1931.
1935. Crosses were placed on floor defining player positions. All players were required to wear numbers on their suits. It became a foul to deliberately screen an opponent from the server. Players could not leave their court unless the ball was on their side of the net. At this time, spikers would stand outside their court and wait till the ball was set to the outside of the court and come running in with a one-leg kick of spike. Any touching of the net was a foul. A play was not complete unless a player resumed normal control on the floor. Deliberate shouting and stomping the feet at an opponent was deemed unsportsmanlike.
The rules were clarified and rewritten to aid in interpretation. Blocking was defined and the service area stipulated as being the right third of the back line. Other items clarified were each player should be in his own area before the ball leaves the server's hands. Points made from wrong server were cancelled. Simultaneous hits by 2 players constituted 1 hit. Timeout for rest was 1 minute. Timeout for injury was 5 minutes. And the timeout between games was 3 minutes.
On the other hand, in the year 1949, the first World Championships were held in Prague, Slovakia, and the Soviets won the men's competition there. Moreover, a setter can now reach the back line for the first time, resulting in a 3-player onslaught. A collegiate division has been introduced by USVBA for strong collegiate teams. Collegiate competition wasn't very intense for the first 10 years. Only motivated students and instructors were able to create teams. After the interested students departed the college, several teams disbanded. There were numerous competitive teams, but no collegiate regulating bodies to provide sport leadership.
The history of volleyball in 1952. Any player was allowed to block at the net. A 7-foot line shown back and parallel to the net as a restraining line for backcourt players blocking at the net. The restriction was lifted on players leaving their position to perform any play except the backline spiker. A defensive player, when blocking, must indicate whether or not he touched the ball. The server was allowed to serve the ball from anywhere back of the service line. Teams were allowed to warm up during timeout for rest or for injury. The players were allowed to leave the court without the referee's permission. The coach, captain, or manager was allowed to call timeout, which means any player may block at the 7-foot line behind the net that is set as a barrier for both teams. Any player can leave their place while playing, but not the backliner. When you block the defender, you should know if you touched the ball or not. Anything behind the service line was permissible for the server to place the ball on the ground. In the course of timeouts for rest or injuries, teams might warm up. Without asking the referee's permission, the players were free to leave the field. Calling timeouts was permitted by the manager, captain, or coaches.
In 1953, the rubber ball was ruled legal. A substitution was allowed to re-enter the game twice instead of once. Players were allowed to use any part of the body to play the ball.
Here in 1968, an attempt was made to draw US VBA rules and international rules together, causing several major changes to be made, like definition of fouls changed to include ball handling errors. Ceiling minimum height was raised to 26 feet. Lines depicting the 10-foot serving area were added to the court. The server was required to toss the ball into the air when initiating the serve. And also here in 1968, the spiking line was moved from 7 feet to 10 feet back from the net.
Blockers were allowed to reach across the net as long as they did not contact the ball until after the attacker had contacted it. One player from the rear could block, but at no time could there be more than 3 players deployed in position to block. Backline spikers were allowed to land in front of the spiking line as long as they left the ground behind it. The ball could not be played with any part of the body below the waist.
In 1970, numbers on uniforms must be 6 inches on the front, 3 inches on the back, and at least 4 inches above the waist. The center line was widened from 2 inches to 4 inches upon request by the referee. The umpire can call all violations not viable to the referee.
Just like Mr. De Guzman said, the ball on the serve does not have to be tossed in the air before it is struck. When a player is injured, a substitute shall be put in without undue delay. Once a team has received the signal to take the court, the lineup cannot be changed.
The men's tournament in volleyball at the 1976 Summer Olympics was the 4th edition of the event at the Summer Olympics, organized by the world's governing body, the FIVB, in conjunction with the IOC. It was held in Montreal, Canada from 18 to 30 of July 1976.
Beach volleyball. Beach volleyball is a team sport played by 2 teams of 2 or more players on a sand court divided by a net. Similar to indoor volleyball, the objective of the game is to send the ball over the net and to ground it on the opponent's side of the court.
History of beach volleyball. When it was invented and who invented it. General consensus says that it was likely played in Hawaii first, on Waikiki Beach in 1915. However, there are those that point to the 1920s in Santa Monica as being the true birthplace of the sport as we now know it, played by 2 people per team. Beach volleyball usually played as its name implies, on a sand court with 2 players per team was introduced in California in 1930. The first official beach volleyball tournament was held in 1948 at Will Rogers State Beach in Santa Monica, California. Beach volleyball is a variant of indoor volleyball, which was invented in 1895 by William G. Morgan. Beach volleyball most likely originated in 1915 in Waikiki.
What are the differences between beach volleyball and normal volleyball in history? Beach volleyball most likely originated in 1915 on Waikiki Beach in Hawaii at the Outrigger Canoe Club. According to a 1978 interview of an Outrigger Canoe Club member, George David or Dad, Center put a net up there, and the first recorded game of beach volleyball took place. While normal volleyball was invented in 1895 by William G. Morgan, physical director of Young Men's Christian Association or YMCA in Holyoke, Massachusetts. It was designed as an indoor sport for businessmen who found the new game of volleyball too vigorous.